Hello. 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 Can you see and hear me? Okay, lots of hellos. Can anyone confirm the video and the audio? Yep. Marvelous. Need to move this out of the way in case Lemmy walks on it. I had a proper fun time at work today when she ran across the keyboard, and after which time every key on the keyboard was doing a shortcut. It got really messed up. It took me ages Googling to work out what the problem was. And the problem was that she'd stepped on the Windows key and the Windows key didn't realize that it hadn't become unpressed. So I had to press it again and it all went back to normal. Weird. Okay, so tonight. Crimson is remote tonight, so I will be periodically picking up the telephone and looking at what we need, things from the sent electronic post-its. I'm guessing electronic post-it notes tonight. Yes, I am. And what is the format for this evening? So the format for this evening is the same as the format for every other time we've done this. So I'll have a bit of a ramble about this last week and hobby stuff. Then I will ramble on about the subject, and then I'll do a bit of Q&A towards the end. I'm getting harangued by my little furry friend here. She's doing a good bit of haranguing. I apologize if the light is a bit dull. 2 of the 3 bulbs have gone. So I've got a lamp pointing at my face. So, where do I start? I discovered that it's possibly, I was going to say an epidemic, but that might be a bit of a touchy phrase. The caffeine-free Coca-Cola shortage appears to be regional, not just restricted to my local store. My friends of mine who are buying it as well can't get it in cans. So I'm on the opposition stuff still. Early drink. Need an early drink. I feel a little bit like Father Ted. Well, Father Jack. Drink. Early. Drink. Oh, what's it doing? It's doing weird click things. I managed to do today at work the least succinct and cogent explanation of a plan that I've ever delivered in my entire life. It really feels like the brain is set to nonsense today. Now I can't push for a Pepsi membership because I don't drink Pepsi. It's just that I am drinking Pepsi. There is a subtle but important difference. And besides, sorry to be a real pedant, Kevin, but all Coke is full fat Coke. What you possibly mean is full sugar Coke. You think Pepsi is better than Coke? Oh dear. How do I kick someone out the chat? No, better not. I'll leave that to Crimson. Yeah, feeling her wrath. That would be an ecumenical matter. Well, quite. But don't you start as well, Adrian Smart. See, you're all ganging up on me. It's ridiculous. I've recently started drinking the lime Diet Coca-Cola. That's very nice. But I've had a lot to stay away. Sorry, right. I'm going to stop talking about Coca-Cola because we're 5 minutes 24 in, and that's all I've talked about. I did mention, I know Pepsi Cola once had a navy because they were paid in ships. But yes, less coherent than normal, if you can believe such a thing. Cherry Pepsi Max's ace goes well with JD and Ice. Oh no, I must stop reading from the chat. I shall be getting remote daggers because Crimson will be halfway through typing something in and then delete it as I've already read it out. So I'm going to stop doing that now. What else have I been doing this last week? Well, it's not been a very hobby week this week. Well, it's been a very hobby week, but not a very wargaming week, because for the first time since Pandemic O'Clock, I was able to see some friends the weekend, and we were able to do some role play, which was awesome. And that has necessitated that I had to remember how to play the game. I had to check my character. I had to spend my karma. I had to do all sorts of shenanigans last week, and then that's pretty much what the weekend was spent doing. Sunday was spent doing hobby stuff, but then hobby stuff last night. Oh, hobby stuff. So there is some hobby stuff to talk about. So Sunday I spent a good few hours wrestling with thank you, Eldar Blog. You are a legend. Coke sponsorship. I do drink Coca-Cola during the day. I just need the caffeine free of an evening. I spent Sunday wrestling. Oh, you can't see that. Let me see if I can just show you Lemmy. And my more than ample furry belly. My belly's only furry because Lemmy's fur has rubbed off on it. Yes. Sunday I spent wrestling with the YouTube merchandise shop, which was interesting. And I wanted to do, of all the things that were options, I wanted to do like three things: a hoodie, a t-shirt, and a mug. And for some reason, YouTube refuses to acknowledge the existence of the mug. So I need to go back to it and work out what I've done wrong. But ironically, if you go on the actual website itself, Teespring, it shows two mugs. So it's weird. That took ages to do. To just take like a plain design and put my logo on it took forever. So that was Sunday. I did a bit of recording of hobby vlogs on Sunday, and I tried to get the vlog posted up online, and it took about 9 hours to upload onto YouTube. Sunday day is not a good day for uploading onto YouTube. So so it came out last night instead. Tiny planes are the order of the day. So I've got a game on Friday night, or hopefully games, with the Claw. We are playing Aeronautica Imperialis again. We've got the Ryan's World campaign book, and we are working our way through that. There's the defense of the capital city, and then there's the assault of the, what was it called? The Lakeside Air Base. I can't remember the name. Obviously, it will be on the the battle report when we do it. So painting, I've had to paint some more Thunderbolts because there are lots of Thunderbolts used in that first game, according to the story. And the second game is about landing reinforcements on It's about landing reinforcements at the beleaguered airfield. So I'm in the middle. I haven't quite finished them yet. I've got to do some more later on in the week. I've got some Valkyries to actually land troops, and then reading all the rules for landing troops. Doesn't look easy. And anti-aircraft guns and gun emplacements and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, going through all that. And that is really the majority of what I've been doing hobby-wise this week. So not a huge amount of stuff. There's been lots of non-hobby stuff going on. So the Imperial Guard, the Astra Millitarum. Where to start? Where to start? Well, I guess a good place to start is with, excuse me. A good place to start is where I started my Imperial Guard journey. I haven't quite worked out yet. Excuse me. I've got a little bit of a tickly cough. It's not COVID. Done a test. So please do. Please do excuse me. I'm somewhat reminded of an episode of the Fast Show with the old gardener who can't stop coughing as he's talking and seems to be entirely oblivious to it. Now I've given myself hiccups. This is not going well. Since I haven't quite decided whether today's ramble is going to be about my Imperial Guard. Bob Fleming, that's it. Well done, Nick. It's going to be about my Guard army, or I'm going to straight into into the lore of the army itself. Let's start and see where we end up. So when I started my Guard army, I had I decided for some unknown reason that I wanted to do an Ultramar army. I thought I didn't have any Ultramarines, and I thought this would be a good way of getting a bit of Ultramarini-ness into my collection. And there were a couple of models in one of the codices with blue and white, and I thought that's really striking. In fact, I think it was the officer of the fleet actually in blue and white, and I thought they're good colours. I'll purloin those colours. I thought, right, what can I use them for? Ultramar. That's right. That's the way around it went. Now, back in, it was either 4th or 5th ed when I started the Guard. It was either 4th or 5th ed when I started the Guard, and sorry, I'm getting distracted by the comments. I need to return to comments at the end. Right. Eyes closed, no distractions, or put some kind of bit of paper up against the thing. Maybe, I don't know. Back in the day, a platoon was a troop choice. So in the current codex, all the different types of Guard squads, the infantry units were, which are infantry squads, special weapon squads, heavy weapon squads, conscripts, command squads. What am I forgetting? I must be forgetting something. I'm forgetting something. I'm sure I'm forgetting something. Whatever, I forgot something. They were all part of one unit. You had to have a command squad which had the officer in it, and at least 2 squads. You had to have between 2 and 5 infantry squads, and then optionals between 0 and 5 heavy weapon squads, 0 and 3 special weapon squads, 0 and 1 conscript squads. Back in the day, conscripts could be 50 large. They broke that down in later editions because of competitiveness. and it had a command squad. The command squad had the 4 veterans with various kits, various kit options, and the junior officer. And that was one choice. So it sort of gave you this notion of what a full platoon was: 5 infantry squads, 50 conscripts, 5 heavy weapon squads, 3 special weapon squads, a command squad, and an ossifer, with or without chimeras. So you can't see, I've got levies right here, heads right here. And they were the inner real troop. There were only 2 troop choices at the time, though, because veteran squads. The veteran squads are one of these units that keeps on oscillating between troops and elite. And so at the time, to have a legitimate army, you had to have 1 HQ and 2 troops. So basically, the way you could do it was how you had to have 2 platoons and a company commander. Now, there was another option, which is the way I went, where it was either the 4th or 5th ed book, you could have a penal legion squad as a single choice with 10 men in it. And so what I did was I got 10 infantrymen, and I modelled on some explosive collars out of Total Recall, and I modelled a guy with like a detonator as the squad leader. In fact, no, I used him as a commissar. That was what I did. I used him as a commissar. So if one of them tried to run off, it's like dink. So I used that as my second troop choice, which was that amused me greatly. It really shouldn't, but it did. Woohoo! Pepsi sponsorship. Thanks, man. Thank you, Chapter Master Lexicus. One moment. But what is quite interesting is, what is the concept of a full platoon? Because at the time, I didn't really know or do much. Sorry, I'm getting nosed by a kitty. I'm not paying enough attention. Is what the concept of a full platoon actually is. And it's interesting depending on what you read and where from. And I've since listened to a lot of Gaunt and Caiaphas Cain and a few other various different ones. And it seems to vary. Some books will say that it's basically circa 50 infantrymen. Some talk about it being 5 infantry squads. Some talk about the attrition levels that a platoon suffers from, because guardsmen are guardsmen. Every engagement, they're a platoon, a company, they'll suffer attrition. 10%, 20%, 30%, 100% will die in a particular engagement. So they often have platoons that run at low strength, or if they're non-combat effective, they'll collapse them into smaller units, but they tend to keep running them. And then when they get, what was it called? They basically get sort of resupply new guys from their home world periodically, because the Militarum, the Administratum, the Administratum they sort of keep tracks and say, right, you must have lost this percent by now, so here are some more guys from your homeworld. Oh, wow, Teutonic Knight, thank you so much. Towards the overthrow of the false emperor. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. We'll kick him out of his, I was going to say granny flat. We'll kick him off the throne and braid daisies into his hair. That'll, yeah, or something like that. Tithed reinforcements. That's a good way of describing it, Paul. Thank you, sir. So at any given time, a particular platoon might be anything from sort of 100, 150 men if it's got conscripts. So guardsmen who've been rushed through training, who haven't completed their training yet. I mean, each weapons team is 6 men, so there's 15 men. No, that's not right. 6, 12, 8, 30. There's potentially 30 men in those squads. There's 6 men each in the specialist weapon squads. So, roughly speaking, it seems to be a platoon could be anything up to about 150 guardsmen. And then there's the question of, what? You finished scratching yourself. You're making a noise. You done? Yeah, just wait till I turn around, then she'll be at it again. But here's what's interesting. So when it talks about, 5th platoon is a heavy weapons platoon. Now, that could, in theory, mean, I'm just putting it out there, so you got roughly 50 men in a platoon, so you want 2 infantry squads, and then 5 heavy weapon squads. That's your 50 men. That kind of feels like it's a valid configuration. Equally, the specialist weapons teams, you can get 2 of those in a Chimera. So that kind of feels like it's a valid configuration as well. So I think there's an element of deciding what the given platoon's speciality or not is. So I'm going on a little bit now into sort of army list generation, because my initial thought was, no, I have to make this. Oh, went a bit weird there. Can you guys still hear me? I will assume you can. I will check the phone to see if. Yep. All good. The team just wigged out a little bit. Team screen. Brain is subpar today. It's subpar because I had to use it at the weekend. I had to use it to throw spirit bolts at Shadaim, and most of you will not know what that means. Lost my train of thought. It's pulled out of the station. I wasn't on it. No, it's a tabletop roleplay called Shadowrun. I was talking about. Well, I was talking about Guard. I was talking about platoons. Oh no, can someone remind me what my brain was talking about? Platoon sizes, yeah, but what? So the question then, and this isn't what I was talking about, but I can't panic and sit here for the next 40 minutes going, I don't know what it was. So I'll move on to something else. Is whether a platoon is mechanized or not. Now, what's so some books talk about a mechanized platoon being, sort of really get there quick, lots of chimeras. Other books refer to platoons just having chimera transports just naturally, and not being mechanized platoons, but just having them to get about. And other books talk about them. Right, now we've landed. Now that we have landed, we need to go and get to our operational place. And I think the last book I was reading, they had to get a train with all their gear and all their kit. Right, we're gonna do some questions and see if my subconscious can drag me back, kicking and screaming, into the room. It's interesting when you do stuff live, isn't it? Okay, so from Crimson, 8 new messages. New member from area. New member? I don't know why. I just says that on everything. Aries Mafia. I'd buy a T-shirt with just your face on it. I don't know whether that's flattering or creepy. I'll assume flattering. Another one from Aries Mafia. Fun fact: the Imperial Guard are actually the creme de la creme of Guard forces, excluding Scions. They are. They totally are. They, in the same way as in the books, the Marines are a lot harder than they are in the game. The same is definitely true of Imperial Guard. They're awesome in the game. That's why I want to have Traitor Guard, so you can have really good guard-on-guard fights. Ares Mafia. To be honest, I love playing Valhalla. The whole World War II Russia vibe they've got is poggers. I don't know what poggers means. I assume it means good. I do like that as well. If they had those in plastic kits, I will be all over that. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing correctly. Hosu Areola. Which regiment do you have, Paul, for your Imperial Guard army? Well, I use... it's basically a homebrew. It's one of my very few homebrews that it's regiments raised from Ultramar. So I don't necessarily just keep it as one regiment, one company in every game I fight. I use them differently. I don't have a sort of ongoing narrative for them, but I'm one of the reasons I'm setting a lot of my games in Ultramar at the moment is because the Guard feature heavily in most Imperial engagements, and it's an Ultramar Guard army that I've got. And so I'm using the sort of create your own trait bits from the Guard Codex. Paul Gray, back in third, they made the special weapon squads, heavy weapon squads, and sentinel squadrons part of the command platoon. They did. They totally did. I used to like the way, in fact, they first did it in second ed, where the structure of the army, because back in second ed, you just had some ratios and percentages. It said 25% of your army must be squads, no more than 50% characters, no more than 50% vehicles. That was your lot. But the Imperial Guard Codex was the first to say, right, you have one of these attached to one of these, and 3 of those, and 2 of these. They actually put some structure in it, which I really, really liked. And they carried that right the way through, which I thought was great. Paul Gray again. I'd say hi, Paul. I think it's about 145, including the platoon command squad and platoon commissar. That sounds about right. That's interesting, the platoon commissar, because in all the books I've read, commissars are at regimental level or higher. I haven't read a book yet where there's a platoon has had its own commissar. They seem in the lore to be much, much, much rarer than the codices imply, which I think is really interesting. Because even in one book, it was saying that the PDF were unfamiliar with commissars, and it was explaining that the system had a single commissar for all its PDF forces, and so probably the vast majority would never have even met them, let alone be familiar with their day-to-day operations. It was interesting. Teutonic Knight. When I was in the US Army, our infantry platoon was nominally 42 men at full strength. I think you Brits run them a bit smaller. 42 men in a platoon. 42 men in a platoon. No, I can't relate that to 40k in my mind. I'm trying to think, what were the squad sizes? What were this? What was that? What was that? And I thought, don't want to get too real lifey, but yeah, platoon, roughly 50 men, so it kind of gels. Chapter Master Lexicus, what are your thoughts on narratively attaching a guard force to a fleet-based Space Marine chapter? That sounds pretty good to me, because there's a lot of crusading goes on, and especially in the era of the Indomitus Crusade, a lot of it is about combined forces, and they assemble crusade elements, and most of these are fleet elements, and they move around together, and they consist of guard and marines and all sorts. So yeah, that seems pretty consistent with me. For me, the Mighty Moog, in the real world, the platoons, the maximum number of men that can reasonably be commanded by one man, the LT. Thank you, sir. Teutonic Knight. Imperial Guard is weird in generally with naming things. On Vrax, one of the corps was the size of a real-life army group, and the squad was the size of companies. Yeah, it's not consistent. But that is one of the really good things about the 40k narrative, is that the Guard are different all over the galaxy. That was one book. I think it was The Spear of the Emperor. The Guard were like sort of men with spears, and that was about it. Huge varieties of different cultures, different organizations, different methods of warfare, all working from the same kernel. Kernel as in seed, from the same sort of start point of organization, but being very different. Even in the likes of Gaunt's Ghosts, they've got light infantry platoons, heavy assault regiments, and different ones with different styles. Could we please have a vote on Say Hi Paul memorabilia for Paul Fest? Would it be a good idea? I'll leave that to you guys all to sort out. Paul Gray. I've still Legion indoors. Hopefully my 9 Chimera will be on the battlefield. Well, hopefully they'll be there. Yeah, all right. Popping the phone down for a minute. Thank you, Crimson. Awesome as ever. Has the light levels causing it to unfocus at the back? I assume it's the light level. It's gone dark outside. It's only just gone 9 o'clock. The nights are drawing in, aren't they? Starting to get a little bit of panic now. So one thing I do. So I'm having lots of dilemmas in my mind, because what I want to do is I want to have a guard collection that I can use to use as random PDF on any planet in any campaign I want to do. And that's got me thinking, right, okay, so I don't necessarily need to arrange them into platoons, but I need the options to have, sort of the 100, 150 men that I can put in different configurations. And I would need to have the option of having chimeras for them or not. But what then is really other layers is and that's great for a platoon. It talks about how you do a platoon really easily. But then it sort of goes up to company level and says, okay, a company's got 5 platoons. And I had this notion of, could I do all 5 platoons? If I just keep them to 50 men in combination, some mechanized, some not, could I do a whole company? I thought, I could do a whole company. Then at the next level up, it talks about the sort of company organization and then the regimental organization. So it talks about having regimental Weird Vein Psychers, regimental Ogrins, and a couple of units of those. And then you start thinking, okay, well, if you're building your army, if you're doing it platoon based, you want the platoon commander to be in charge of the platoon. But if you've got other auxiliary bits, you kind of need someone from higher up in the structure to sort of oversee them. With the added complication that a platoon commander isn't actually an HQ choice, which is vexing. Those bits are a little bit more defined, but then, depending on what you read, sentinels are either arranged into companies, squadrons of 10, and so I want to have a sentinel squadron of 10, but you can't have an HQ sentinel the same way as you can with a tank. So Lehman Russ, that's really easy. A Lehman Russ company is 10 Lehman Russ. Brilliant. So you can do a spearhead outrider vanguard. Spearhead. You can do a spearhead with 3 units of 3 Lehman Russ and 1 tank commander. Okay, brilliant. There's your tank company. Comes in a little bit under 2,000 points. Superb. What colour do I paint them? Because if I paint them blue, then they're always going to be part of the Ultramar. But if I paint them a different colour, I could potentially use them to be with PDF on a random planet somewhere. Or they could actually be in a different campaign. They could be, this is a Lehman Russ company from the such and such and such and such, and they're here in this deployment. Differentiating between PDF and Guard. I want to be able to differentiate between the two. So I then have the dilemma of what colour they get painted. But that's by the by. That's easy enough to organise. But where do you put Sentinels? Where do you put Hydras? Where do Hellhounds come into the organisation? Do they come as part of tank companies? Do you mix and match them in with Lehman Russ? Are they attached to a regiment level? And then they're independently assigned to different battle forces by the different places, independently assigned to different places by the colonel. So what else is that? I mean, you then stormtroopers. They're trying to differentiate between scions and stormtroopers. Some of the books differentiate, some of them don't. Some of the books talk about stormtroopers as platoons, as guardsmen rather than being scions. I want to be able to do that. I want to be able to do heavy guard units in big transporty tank things. And this is quite probably the least structured and most random ramble I have ever gone on. Yes. Let's see what else the phone's got to say. Lots of messages deleted. That's Crimson clearing out the ones I've already read. Thank you, Crimson. Type 90. A standard US infantry platoon consists of 3 rifle squads, 1 weapon squad, and a 6-man headquarters. The headquarters consists of a platoon leader, usually a first lieutenant. Okay. 3 rifle squads, 1 weapon squad, 1 6-man headquarters. Understood. That's kind of a similar structure, I think. That they loosely, GW are loosely doing a similar thing. Paul Gray, random people to put on PDF. Use Necromunda models. There's a ragtag idea and kit bashes, Genestealer Cult neophytes with Orlok heads. Do you see PDF as... They're obviously less good because they're less trained, less disciplined. They haven't seen many, many war zones. But here's the thing that I'm not sure about. Are they more ragtag? Or actually, do they actually look shinier and newer would you expect all the PDF to be sort of bristling and pristine in their flak armor that's never taken around, their helmet that doesn't quite fit, the las gun that has never been used to club an orc to, well, not death? Because I've got a friend of mine did a guard regiment that I had. A guard platoon, well, it was a regiment, but it's a platoon of which I've inherited. And he basically kit bashed and converted together Cadians and Cassicians to make them feel a lot more ragtag and unique. And I don't know if that feels PDF enough to me. I don't know if I would have those. If I put those on the table and say, yeah, these guys are PDF, but actually they look more like just sort of a random rabble of insurgents rather than a military organization. I don't know what my preference is with that. Equally, if I go for all new, all shiny Cadians, in some scenarios, does that look PDF enough? I don't know. There's just so many options with Guard. If you want to try and represent warfare across the galaxy, every planet's different. Yeah. That's why I really hope GW do something to nicely refresh the Guard range. Because we know they have the skills to do this, but I mean, they could go from anything from just having sort of customization packs for, here are your Valhallan pieces with your Valhallan hat heads and the, sort of clip-on greatcoat or scarf or something or whatever, just, different heads, different guns maybe, to they could do full multi-part kits where the whole model is generic and you buy the sort of the armor bits are like fascias that you attach on, that you customize, and maybe you buy those in separate packs. That'd be quite cool. You see, if they did that, they could also instantly customize a line into Gene Stealer stuff, Chaos Cult stuff. They wouldn't have to change the fundamental kit if they went sort of building blocks. Here is the basis for our human army going forward, and then here's the second sprue, because like in a lot of boxes you get a couple of sprues. So here's the core model sprue, and then here's your Valhallan sprue, here's your Vestroyan sprue, and the sort of torso bit was the greatcoat clipping over, and then the big hat and the custom gold gun and all that stuff. So I'd like to see that. I'd like to see more talk about Guard structure in the book, and I know I'm not going to see it whenever the book happens, because I want the book to tell me this is how, in a narrative scenario, you attach a hellhound to what happens. Is it part of a tank regiment that then gets loaned out? They talk about that with the Lehman Russes. It says you might get a number of infantry regiments deployed in a certain area, and a tank regiment deploys a couple of companies of tanks, but they don't keep them all together. They split them up, which is the rationale for being able to have Lehman Russ and all these various different tanks in our little armies. It does make me want to play epic. It makes me want to do epic scale games with tank companies and and Bane Blades, squadrons of Bane Blades. What else we got? Paul Gray, apparently there was a Hydra regiment deployed in one place. They definitely had anti-air fire that day. Yeah, they did. Someone probably ran up and just shot the crew. It's from Kevin. Hey, Paul, look at the Berlin Brigade of the British Army. Maybe use their camo. Okay, I'll give that a look. Berlin Brigade of the British Army. Okie dokie. Right, what else? I envisage Guard to be rich pickings for random rambles, but I appear to be randomly scratching around in unusual places. So here's one. Do we think that GW is going to release a Tanith regiment in the new book? They've released Gaunt and some of his ghosts. They've released some of the new characters. Do we think they are going to write them into the lore in the book, make it a sort of pickable regiment? And if they do, are they going to differentiate between the Tanith and the Vervenhivers? Because they totally should. And then, with all the camo cloaks and sneaking around and shooting and stuff. Yes. Oh, saw the phone. So phone beeped. I think Say Hi Paul has found his happy place. Squadrons of Baneblades. I do like a good Baneblade. Yeah, I'd like to see them do Tanith. Things I'd like to see in the new Guard book. I'd like to see Tanith because they're just such a big part of a lot of the players' experience of the Imperial Guard is through these stories. So I think they'd sell well, which, let's be honest, is a thing for G-dubs. Quite rightly, because they're a business. I'd like to see them have some rules in there for the PDF to see how they're different. I don't want to be selecting from a list of rules that say these are all elite soldiers. Maybe they could have rules like fighting for their homes or something like that, whatever they might be. I'd also like to see. I'd like to see a Penal Legion in there as an option. Okay, so what do we have in the feed? The Baneblade and Shadow Sword novels are a good read. Okay, I will bear those in mind. I have seen them, but I've never chosen them. Penal Legion complete with human bombs. No, Moog. No. Politically sensitive, mate. I don't think GW wants to do that. I'll be honest, I'm amazed that bomb squigs still exist for that very reason. But Penal Legionnaires they'll be used in a particular way. They'll have higher levels of commissariat. They'll have interesting morale because some Penal Legionnaires will fight on because they're being driven. They don't want to be shot. Some will be desperate for redemption. Some will be looking for any chance to screw their superior officers over and get away. So I think there could be some interesting things there. But then again, it sort of requires the morale system to be a little bit more flavoursome than it currently is. Don't know. Maybe that will come through in stratagems that you could play, or anti-stratagems. I don't know what an anti-stratagem would be. Forget I said that. Codex Armageddon had Hive militias back in the day for the Second Armageddon War. Okay, Hive militias. Yeah, that makes sense because in a number of books the populace just grab weapons and go, right, well, we need to fight for our homes because we're getting overrun. As you very well might. Yeah, that could be quite cool. Yeah, because you've got all the different regiments, but that's all very much about the Guard as a deployable army rather than a lot of the other circumstances in which humans will fight. Maybe that's the whole point, though. Maybe that's what the Guard book should be about. Maybe there should be another book, or maybe not. Some of the old Imperial Armor books had organizational charts for different Guard regiments. I think one of them was for an armored regiment. IA3 Taros campaign, maybe. You are right. I did have a couple of those old books. I do seem to remember those. Some of those. I don't have many more, though, unfortunately. There's possibly a load to tap there. Thanks, Jamie. I will see if I can dig any of that stuff out. Paul Gray, Mighty Moog, they will be part of an Adeptus Arbites force. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. I thought the Penal Legion are more like the penal battalions in the Red Army in World War II, clearing minefields at gunpoint. I don't think they're quite that bad. I think they're more used for scenarios where they don't want to use up guardsmen. Sort of first through the breach, or I think they're more inclined to put them in harm's way than actually make them just run through a minefield just to set it off. I don't know. Glad to see I wasn't the only one left scratching my head after seeing the platoon organizational chart. I do wonder how and where certain units fit. Exactly, Tom. Exactly. It makes no sense to me. A lot of it. The thing I do like is in the books because a lot of some of the flying units have got the Aeronautica Imperialis keywords. And even in the existing codex, it talks about Valkyries being Aeronautica Imperialis assets that are sometimes lent to, if there are a long-term engagement alongside a particular regiment, they'll repaint them in regimental colours. But I looked at that, I thought, oh, super, right, all I do now, all my Valkyries, I need to paint them in military grey, in Aeronautica Imperialis grey, in order to that I can use them with any guard army I have. Same with the scions. So I've painted up my stormtroopers as scions, so I can do the roboting Paul or rebooting Paul. Necron Paul? Oh, the sound's gone. Oh no. Quick, run a speed test. Well, my download speed's all right. My upload speed will be the problem. Oh dear. Any better now? So I have to resort to the keyboard. I possibly have to resort to the keyboard. Funny, you sound like an Astra loading. Have you tried turning it off and on again? If I try turning it off and on again, it'll cut the feed. Oh dear. I can keep on talking on the off chance that it picks up at some point and someone says we can now hear you. Zookle. They had an animate photo in an old system journal. Can't remember which edition, but yeah, human bombs were an addition to that force. Goodness me, times change. Is it any better? Checking the phone. Criminal, tell me. Any better? She's typing. I don't know if it's any better. Not really. Still rebooted. Can hardly hear you. Don't know. I don't know what's worse. The quality of tonight's ramble or the quality of tonight's sound. Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. Never go through the red door. Am I back? I've got a yay, he's back. It's back. Sounds okay now. Love the IT crowd. Didn't think much of the last season. It's okay now. Sounds fixed. Okay. Now we can evidence this. I'll rerun the sound test. Not the sound test, the speed test. And see what it says. Test again. It's like lateral flow. Test again. And again. And again. And again. Oh, Crimson's telling me I'm back. Well, you're all telling me you're back. I don't know why I'm even doing the thing. I put the keyboard away now. So where was I up to? I don't know. You know what's written on the thing? Okay, that's better. Seems to have cleared. You're going again. Ta-da! Oh no, robot's back. Oh. Maybe we need a chip for a better internet, Paul. Carrier pigeon. No talking about Antum. Well, this is no good, is it, folks? I can write it in the thing. No. That makes me a sad panda. No keyboarding. It's a bit like waterboarding, but with keys. Oh dear. Really sorry about this, folks. No, waterboarding. Hey, it's back. Have you ever considered doing a Space Marine chapter painted like a panda? No. I think it would infringe on the Claw's IP with his Fast Panda channel. Did you like that? I thought that was a good way out of that. No, Panda Space Marines? No, I don't think so. Okay, well, I appear to have run out of Imperial Guard steam, so throw some stuff at me, guys. Tell me what to ramble and how to ramble about it, because the Guard's dried up. The sound quality, that is. Waterboarding never sounds fine. Good. Glad we're on the same page. I've got some recovered racing pictures if you need them, Paul, just in case the sound goes again. Well, we've got 58 people viewing at the moment. I would have to do... I'd have to record it onto little USB sticks or onto SSD cards and send the racing pigeons to 58 locations. So it's 8. That's 9 now. Okay, Teutonic Knights. How would you do Tracer Guard? Well, ignoring the existing rule set for the moment, I would see Tracer Guard having sort of rough guardsman-sized units with roughly equivalent weapons, just with lots of cool, funky, spiky bits and evil talisman and so on. Regimental things, I would see them being more sort of, either scary to be around or warded by the powers or sort of unbreakable, sort of like additional leadership, invulnerable saves, leadership penalty to be close to. I'd see that sort of thing. I'd see them having psychers. I'd see them having some kind of sort of chaosy type abilities to call down as an army. Not necessarily, each guardsman can do stuff, but in a lot of the books, they do sort of diabolical schemes and traps, and they have the occasional big nasty gribbly monster. I'd see sort of I'd see a sort of mixing in of the sort of guard type units with loose structure, no orders or anything like that, but things that the leaders could do, that the psychers could do, the priests could do. Less coordination, less structure, fewer orders, but individual. But blood pact. Blood pact. Yeah, thanks, Paul. yeah, I would. Quick, Paul, talk about mutant humans that are allowed to be kept alive in the Imperium. Well, they exist on paper. They don't exist in plastic. It's just degrees of mutation and individual tolerances of your local ecclesiarchy / inquisitor. Abhumans, they're a thing in lots of the previous books, not so much in these books because they don't tend to focus so much on the things, more the rules. But they're a thing, and they back in the day before lawsuits, GW used to produce rule sets that allowed you to model that kind of thing. I mean, The Lost and the Damned was a really good book. You could really customize your Chaos Army and mutants and all those delicious niceties. I love the idea that so the bilges of a spaceship were just full of the detritus of mankind that could be herded onto the battlefield. I love that vibe. Have you seen the old Guard tabletop RPG from FFG? I have not. I have not. Right. So Tom meant Ogrins, Rattlings, etc. Well, Ogrins get used a lot. Often they talk about them being on spaceships as like loaders, because they can carry heavy stuff. I mean, Ogrins are, well, Rattlings. They come from different planets with different atmospheres, and without wishing to get sort of too heavy, there's a lot of how much deviation is too much deviation. Well, someone who's below 5'6", is that too short? Or someone who's, above 6'3", is that too tall? Is a slight blue colouring of the hair unacceptable as opposed to blonde or brown? It's where the line of mutation gets drawn. And I can see some puritanical regiments and cultures saying no to all kinds of abhumans. I can also see others saying, yeah, you serve the emperor. Crack on. And that's very much a flavour thing for an individual regiment, either in a book or on a tabletop. So if you need a command tank for artillery, I think the Salamander command tank from Legends, they'll work. I couldn't see Salamanders in Legends when I last looked. I did look, I couldn't see it. Maybe I was just being blind. But command tank for artillery. So basilisks. Yeah, how do you fit basilisks in? I want to have an army. I want a basilisk regiment, so I want 15 of them. How's that going to work? It's not going to work. Why have I got one basilisk with this army? It makes no sense. Sorry. We have 29 of them, so only take true trips. Pigeons. But they'll all need to know to go to separate places. I can't see the organisation changing at all. They just believe naughty things. I see the command structure being quite different. Paul in second ed, you could use Guard with Marines. Why do you think they stop allowing it? That's purely competitive play. It's purely because of people souping armies together to have the best combination of units. They don't want to see it in competitive play. It's one of the best things I liked most about 8th edition was the ability to do that. The big mistake I think GW made was trying to draw it all together and saying, here's one rule set to rule them all, and in the darkness bind them, rather than saying, okay, you've got your open play, your narrative play, and your match play, and we will consciously make them different because people who play them want different things. That's why they don't allow it. They wanted one ring to rule them all. Sorry I'm late, but hello everyone. Hello Immortan Joe, how's things? Well, we've had sound problems, we've had my brain problems, we've had the two things occurring at the same time and independently of one another. We've had a number of references to squats, that number being 1. And this is very possibly the most rambling ramble of all things that I've ever rambled. Aren't Psychus mutants that are allowed to be kept alive in the Imperium? They certainly are. They certainly are. And some groups of people won't have them. They just won't have them. They won't have them. Apart from astropaths, they're all right. But apart from astropaths, we won't have them. And navigators, they're okay as well because they're not actually humans, therefore they're not mutants. Okay. But apart from astropaths, navigators, space marines, Thousand Suns, sorcerers, what has the Imperium ever done for us? Sorry, I might have been conflating my narratives a little bit there. The sanctioned ones, anyway, yes, indeed. Strictly speaking, Space Marines could be said to be mutants. Well, they're not humans. They're post-humans. the sort of puritanical view that everything must be a purebred human that isn't taken out and shot. Nah. But you'll get some worlds like that, and therefore some regiments like that. So there's a place for that small-minded thinking somewhere in the 41st millennium, under a rock. Unless they're in a jar, that would make you a freak. Oh, I have 3 nipples. Does that make me a mutant? Yes. Do you also have the golden gun, Lexicus? Oh dear. Not yet, matey. Still one step closer to being Scaramanga. Here's a useless piece of information for you. I can't remember the name of the line, but mammals have an invisible line from their pelvis to their shoulders, and it's anywhere along that line that the nipples can occur, which is why on mammals like this furry beast, they have sets and they're along the line. The things you remember from university, eh? Paul beat me to the Roman joke, but I could see it coming. Just sent you a screenshot of the Salamander command vehicle from Wolf Forge World Legends. Ah, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Splendid. I will have Luxie. Okay, right. I'm going to check the phone. Going to check the phone. Okie dokie. You've got the aqueducts and the roads. Yeah. Right, folks. I'm not going to tempt fate with the technology any longer, or my brain. So, again, more rambling than usual, possibly less poignant than usual. I will try harder for next week. If you want to drop me some big subject suggestions into the Discord, that'd be super. I'll see if I can fish something out of there. The Guard seemed like such a wide topic, but then I think my brain went on a business trip to Hawaii. So, bandwidth for the bandwidth God. Thank you, Moog. Legend. Okay, big thank yous to the Mighty Moog, Eldar Blog, Chapter Master Lexicus, and Teutonic Knight. Guys, you are all awesome. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Everyone who watches one of my adverts. Everyone who clicks on my affiliate link for Element Games, which, if you want to shop at Element Games and you want extra crystals, have a look at the affiliate link and the code in the description. Shameless capitalism plug. Thank you to all my channel members. And most of all, thank you very, very much to Crimson for being awesome admin and support. And on that happy note, I will see you guys in the next one. Stay safe. Bye for now.